Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Spotlight. Community Spotlight is a ministry of First Baptist Church North Indianapolis. Today, we are shining light on individuals who are making a positive contribution to our community by advancing the mental health status of our people. So sit back and relax and see what you can learn today, especially how COVID-19 is impacting our community health, what resources are available, and what the church and the faith community can do to make a positive impact. So today we have some powerful soul sisters with us today. We will first like to introduce Miss Leslie Washington. Leslie, if you could share your name and your title and tell us a little bit about what you do in the mental health field.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Washington, and I am currently the Director of Mental Health Services for the Abundant Life Institute. I am also a life coach. Pretty much what I do in my role as the Director of Mental Health Services is create programs for our community in order to raise mental health awareness. And we actually have a program going on right now, but that is a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Miss Leslie. Next, we will hear from Miss Henderson. If Miss Henderson is not available, let's hear from Kimberly Curry. We can't hear you, Kimberly.
My apologies.
No problem.
My apologies. My name is Kimberly Curry. I am the founder and CEO of The Well Behavioral Health. I am also a licensed clinical addictions counselor. I'm also the First Lady of the True Tribe Missionary Baptist Church. And what I'm doing right now is doing virtual business from home, seeking to engage those who are struggling with various mental health issues and problems, and just trying to assist them there.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Next, we will hear from Reverend Gladden.
Greetings. Can you hear me? Outstanding. So again, I'm Reverend Shonda Nicole Gladden, the Associate Pastor here at Crossroads African Methodist Episcopal Church in the city of Indianapolis, and I'm also the CEO of Good to the Soul. And looking forward to sharing in conversation with these wonderful soul sisters. As at Good to the Soul, we're about energizing individuals and institutions to flourish, particularly as it pertains to health and wellness needs. So looking forward to the time. Thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Next, we'll hear from Reverend Beatley.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linnell Bailey, and I currently serve as an associate minister at First Baptist Church North Indianapolis, and I also am the spiritual care manager for Ascension St. Vincent, Southern Region. And so I look forward to our conversation. Thank you for the invitation.
Right. Thank you for being with us. Did we, Miss Henderson, has she been able to join back? Okay, let's hear from Sister Henderson.
Hello, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I'm Laura Henderson. I have worked many years in the mental health arena. Currently, right now, I work for National Church Services, and I am their service coordinator for their seniors there, providing services for them. But pre-COVID, I worked for NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, for their youth program, Ending the Silence. And prior to that, I did a radio show for 2.5, almost 2 years on mental health. Let's talk about it, mental health out in the open. And I've worked for years on the streets with unmedicated homeless, trying to get them into services here and in Louisville, Kentucky, and also on the executive board in Louisville, Kentucky for their mental health services.
All right. Well, thank you. Again, I am Reverend Tanya Hill, the Director of Community Impact with First Baptist Church North Indianapolis. I'm also the CEO of Abundant Life Institute. I've worked in the community through social work and ministry for over 25 years, and I'm so happy that we are all here together today. We have some stats to share today about the status of our community as it relates to COVID-19. So I'll share a few of those, and that will help everyone see how much work we have to do here. So according to the Coronavirus COVID-19 Information Center, today in the United States, we have 166,555 new COVID cases on today. Wow. Yesterday in Indiana reported 8,322 new COVID-19 cases. 2 days ago in Marion County, it was reported that Marion County has 617 new coronavirus COVID-19 cases. The rates of hospitalization among Black and Latino peoples are more than 4 times higher than those among the white population, according to the CDC. The Barna Group surveyed pastors and learned that only 30% of the pastors reported feeling well equipped and prepared to help people deal with the matters of mental health and emotional health as it relates to coronavirus. So therefore, you see, we have work to do, but not to worry, there's hope, there is hope. So what we would like to do first is share a definition of mental health. I will give a basic one and ask the panelists to add to that definition as you see fit, and then we will state how our definition of mental health is impacted by coronavirus. So, mental health includes emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, including childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and later adulthood. Mental health is more than the absence of disorders or disabilities, but it's to pursue peak mental wellness. So ladies, my soul sisters today, how would you add to that definition of mental health?
Well, if I when I'm working with the youth, and exactly as what you just read, Tanya, I kind of changed it around a little bit for them. I said it's your ability to live, love, and laugh, and they get a better understanding of that. And so then we talk about how is that happening in your home, or if it's not happening for you, what can we do to change that? Because you are kind of the captain of your ship, even though you are a youth, there are some things that you can do.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Gladden, would you like to add?
Sure, I'll gladly add. When I think about mental health, especially, I think about it representing that which animates the entirety of our lives. That when our mental health is off kilter or not well cared for, our entire bodies can find themselves gripping and grappling with the difficulties of life in ways that makes us completely off balance. So it is that essential essence of who we are as human beings, but particularly as women.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Essential essence. Very good. Leslie, would you like to share?
Yes. So just to add to what she just said, I think of mental health just like physical health. You need to get mental health checkups. You need to make sure that, like she said, you're on your kilter, but also you need to make sure that you're flourishing and that you're not just happy, but you have joy in your life. So you're not just working, you're not just going home and living your life and then going to sleep and waking up and doing the same thing the next day. You actually are living a fulfilling life and you're doing what you want to do and you're walking in your purpose.
All right, thank you. Reverend Linnell, could you share or add to our definition of mental health and also how you believe COVID-19 is impacting our mental health?
Sure. I think what I would like to add would be how mental health is one of those things that is the most common that we don't talk about. It's one of the most ignored aspects of our well-being. It's also one of the one area of our life that we are the most embarrassed about. That's what I would add to what all the other ladies have stated. And I think with COVID-19, it has brought us to a point of a place of our lives that we cannot control, and we have no control of it. And it makes us feel out of control, which is another part of our own mental health. We can't go to the places that we are normally go to. We can't function the way in which we have been accustomed to. And so for the past almost 9 months now, our lives have been totally shattered and turned upside down. And a lot of people don't know how to live in this state of pandemic that we are in now.
So true.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Sister Curry.
I would add, I think, a spiritual piece to it, of course. Just based off of my most recent experiences with my clients. I have come to notice and understand that mental health issues can be pushed by different, they can have different catalysts, so to speak. And I found that many of my clients, because I list my business as something that's Christian based. And so a lot of my clients come to me for that, but I've discovered that some of them are having spiritual issues that are manifesting as mental health issues. Now, it's a mental health issue, either way you cut it. That doesn't take away from the fact that it is a mental health issue. But sometimes there are other things that are causing these issues to manifest, like anxiety, depression. And when we have to isolate, that causes us, as Reverend Linnell just said, that causes us to have to shift in ways that we're not used to shifting. And so now we're going back into it again.
Yes.
We ran rampant basically all summer, and now we're going back into isolation again because those numbers are going to. So now it's not that the only way we can, I think for me, when I deal with my clients, is to learn how to cope as I teach them how to cope.
Right.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because this
Yeah.
is new to all of us. None of us, this is not in the theory books.
Right. Most
so
of us have not lived through a time like this. I would like to add to that a point that you made stands out, and that is this is our second go round as we move into a time where we're possibly going to be isolated again. But what's different this time is, one thing, we have a little experience with it, but the thing that's different and not so good is that we're entering this towards the winter months, which already seems to have a negative impact on mental health. But I would like my sisters here to help me make it crystal clear so that the average person understands when we talk about mental health as it relates to COVID, what does that really look like? I've read articles and I've heard discussions and seen news reports about things called long haulers, symptoms that survivors of COVID-19 have that lasts an extended amount of time. And one of those things is not being able to concentrate. One of those things is increased anxiety because you don't know what's going to happen, and particularly when it impacts your health. The isolation that comes along with it when you have to be on quarantine, and what happens when you're by yourself, isolated. So if you guys can help us have a clear picture of what it looks like to have a mental health problem in the midst of COVID-19. So I would start, Leslie, I remember you had a discussion about some of the physical symptoms of anxiety. If you would share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so some people think that anxiety is just fretting over something or just being overly worried, but anxiety can come out in different forms, and that can be of your hair falling out. Some people have been known to have stomach issues or to have other physical health issues, or have memory issues, have short-term memory loss, or it begins to affect their long-term memory, or you wanting to procrastinate and not having the energy or feeling lethargic. Anxiety can look like any of these things. If you have children, especially small children, it can look like you not wanting to take care of your children, or you feeling like you're not being a good mother because you don't have the energy to take care of your children.
The energy.
Yeah.
The energy to take care of your children when you are stressed over COVID-19 and locked in the house with all of your children who used to go to school for most of the day. Wow. Then we bring in some other concerns that could lead to actually some really bad situations that involve abuse. So this is a picture of some of the things that we are dealing with. Reverend Gladden, do you have anything that you would like to share that will help us have a clearer picture of what a mental health problem is as it is associated with COVID-19?
Yeah, Reverend Hill, I mean, it's compounded. We get the seasonal affective disorder that happens to people around this changing of the seasons anyway. We, in Indiana, especially, we plug in daylight savings time, where we have less daylight in the day if we're getting any sunlight in our homes. And many of us are not even getting out of the house. And then we compound that with the spiritual pieces, as I believe Reverend Lene has talked about, and perhaps even Ms. Kimberly has talked about, and that is that we are created for community. And so if we get all of these intersecting variables where we are not in community, where we are not receiving the same amount of vitamin D and daylight, where our own internal ways of being connected to the universe and the people around us is being shifted because of daylight savings time and because of the changing of the seasons, it makes it no wonder that we can feel as though we are losing our sense of self and losing our minds. That's why it makes it so important that we are doing regular check-ins with our own selves and say, sis, what's really going on? Let's hold up. Let's think about this. Let's not lose our minds, because it really is more than you may feel like you can bear in this moment. So take inventory of what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, Sister Henderson, I would like for you to speak to this point. We know that, the mental health piece of this, it could be as something as manageable as, okay, I need to get out and walk more. I need to get more sunlight, even though I'm locked in. But it could get so far to the point that I'm considering suicide because this is just too much and it's overwhelming. And because of your history, I would like you to share just how far this can go.
Absolutely. This is just a really additional, I guess, pressure on an individual that maybe would go out and go for that walk, or they would call the crisis line and you would suggest to do that or to do some meditation or something, but now they're afraid to go out The mask has added to it because I feel like I'm suffocating with the mask on, so I don't wear it. So there's a lot of other things that's going on with that. And unfortunately, trying to cover all of these things at one time with the individual that may be suicidal at the moment is very hard. It's additionally hard on the family, on the crisis line, or anyone else that's working with that individual, to help them see that this is not the end, because they feel like this is the end, especially if they, have this underlying mental health issue, that the world is coming to an end, or someone is talking with them, or all these things that are going on. And now you're telling me to put this mask on my face. So it's a lot of different traumas added on top of that. And so I just need to check out. I just need to get away from here because it's not working for me. It's not good. And what you're telling me on the crisis line, or what you're telling me, or what my therapist is telling me, is not working because the virus is back again now. So it's really hard on us that talk with them daily, just trying to get them to move to the next level, to go see a doctor or a therapist, and that it's not the end. Resources are hard, and getting them to come in is even harder now.
Yeah. So two really key points. You talked about the trauma, and let's talk about some triggers. Yeah. So if you're that person who you have had around, you've come out of it, you survived COVID-19. And now we're isolating again because of the rise. Sometimes just hearing the conversations on the news, which they're real, but that can be a trigger that brings all sorts of anxiety. And cause people, especially if they were really, really sick, like if you were on a ventilator and all of that, and now it's like, oh my goodness, this type of thing is coming back again. And so I want our viewers to understand the spectrum or the continuum of this, because we're over here, we're in the middle, but on this far extreme, there are individuals who already had some mental health concerns, some things that may not have been treated. And let's face it, in our community, it's not an easy conversation. People don't want to talk about it. We want to tell you to, get it together, go pray and fast, and you're going to be fine. Sometimes there's a chemical imbalance.
Absolutely.
That you require medication to get some balance back. And sometimes not just medication, but medication and treatment and learning new skills. That doesn't mean we put prayer on the side.
Right.
That doesn't mean that we put our taking a walk on a sunny day on the side, or doing some of these very normal, everyday things that we could do to help our mental health. Sometimes it's so severe that we need to be medicated and maybe even hospitalized to get back on track. And we need to make it a safe place for people to be able to talk about this so that we can encourage them, because the suicide rate is pretty high.
Yes.
It's pretty high among youth and adults. We like to say that that's not something that happens in our community, but that's simply not the case.
Absolutely is.
Simply not the case.
Right.
Even last night, they've done a special on President-elect Biden, and he talked about how he felt after his wife and daughter were killed in a car accident. Well, he was at a point of considering taking his life. So you have people who have lost loved ones to COVID-19, who they weren't even able to do the normal things like be there at their bedside and comfort them. That the person they loved had to die alone. And now, they're expected just to be okay now. Right. Let's be real. We're not okay. People are dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome, anxiety, all sorts of things, and it comes out in a variety of ways. So with that being said, even the people who have struggles with substance abuse, substance abuse disorder, which has been criminalized, but now that it is in all cultures, let's say now considered a mental health disorder, which it is. It's an illness, it's a disease. If you already struggle with that, and now we have COVID, that puts us in a very delicate situation. A very delicate situation. So let's talk about, we know the problem is big, but we also know that our God is bigger. And we know that there are resources, and so we have to, and there's things that can be done. So let's talk about what the faith community can, should, and even what should not be doing to promote the mental health for our people. And one of the things I want to start with is we first have to recognize the reality that there is a problem. And so I would like for each of you to kind of share a little bit about on your experience in our community and how, what kind of job do we do with dealing with the reality of mental health problems in our community. And I guess I'll start with Reverend Beatley.
Okay. I do want to add to that, Reverend Hill, our healthcare workers, those that work in the hospitals, that are your frontline workers that are seeing this up close and personal, are then going back to their communities and being isolated. And so that's another added component of this whole mental health aspect. And so when you talked about, you stated, people that have died and their families were not able to be there with them. And so they had to die alone without their families. But at St. Vincent, we have, and I can only speak of Ascension St. Vincent because that's where I work at. And so we have, what we do is No One Dies Alone. We have a program, but it's ran by volunteers, but because of COVID, we are not allowing volunteers in the hospital. And so your nurses and other staff members, chaplains, are holding the hands of patients as they take their last breath so that they are not all alone. No, we can't take the place of their family, but we can hold their hands so that they don't die alone. But that right there is it's very heartbreaking. And it's also very hard on our healthcare workers who are doing this day in and day out. Nurses work 12 plus hour shifts. They can work 16 hours a day. And so, and those are, then you have your respiratory therapists, you have your environmental services, folks that are going in and cleaning, and all of these people are seeing this up close and personal and are very fearful and afraid for their own lives and for the lives of their families.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think that our faith community is making some strides because we're having the conversations. And that's where it starts. We have to have the conversations. We can no longer ignore this, I would say this darkness of mental health. We have to talk about it. And we have to, say, God is bigger. And sometimes God has placed people in your lives to help you get through these times.
Yes.
God equipped people. He called us. He equipped us. He has prepared us. But he's prepared some to deal with mental health while some can deal with something else. And so there are people that God has gifted and have given them the gifts and talents to be able to handle these situations. And so our faith communities can no longer ignore and put all the pressure on our pastors and think that the pastors are supposed to do it all. Well, there are people that can help. And so what I would like to get out is let the pastors know that you have help that can help you with your members, with your congregations, So let's start having more conversations so that people aren't scared to come forth and say, I need help.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I
Good.
need help. And so if we can start letting them know it's okay. We all need help. This is something, like you said, none of us have been through this before. And so we are, by nature, at least I am, by nature, I am a social being. I want to be around people. I want to be around my family. It is breaking my heart that Thanksgiving, a week from Thursday, we will not be able to gather as normal like we would do on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Because of our numbers, we have to be able to be safe. And
Yeah.
so, celebrate by Zoom calls or phone calls, and being able to do something different this year.
Yeah.
But also realizing that just because I'm a social being, that I thrive off of being around others, I know that there are people that don't have people that they could be around, and they do feel all alone. And so if we can express that, yes, we serve a mighty good God, and our God is so big and he's everywhere, but he has placed people with gifts and talents that can help us get through this time. If only, you stated with the mask, we can't see the smiling faces anymore when we go out in public.
Yeah.
It's all covered up. And so that's another aspect of somebody needs to see a smile. But when we're out in public, they can't see it.
Yeah.
And that's another whole aspect just with the mask.
Yeah.
And so we are at a good starting point, but we have to get the word out even more that, yes, we know it's real and we don't want you to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Reverend Beatty,
your question.
You did. Go ahead, Reverend Gladden.
I was gonna say, Reverend Beatty, I want to thank you so much for landing in that space of reminding the pastors of the continuum of care that connects to mental health professionals. We can provide pastoral care all day long. We can coach you, but there must be a reminder to us as clergy women and men that there's a limit to what we ought to do and what we can do. That when it comes to thinking about liability, yes, in the church, because it's real, we want to refer out when we have reached the limits of what is pastorally responsible. We need to refer to mental health professionals whose job it is to be able to discern what the DSM says. I can tell you what the Bible says. I can tell you what it looks like based on the experiences that I've had with other people that I have coached over the years. But the DSM is not my forte. It is the mental health professionals who are able to diagnose where this is no longer simply a spiritual malady, but this is really perhaps an imbalance as it pertains to one's serotonin and melatonin level, or where it is that there's some medicine that may be helpful in this instance. At the end of this time, as a pastor, even, I'm going to my therapy session as soon as we close up the session today, because there is something that my licensed mental health professional can do that even I, as a clergy woman who has come through seminary and has had 20 plus years of ministry work, I still need a mental health professional that will specialize in what I need. So thank you, Reverend Hill, for giving us permission to take the taboo and the stigma off. And thank you, Reverend Beatty, for reminding us that there's a limit to what we ought to do as pastors.
And there's some things that we should not do.
Right.
For instance, we have to be mindful of what we say. Yes. From the pulpits and from our individual realms and our what our station is. We have to be aware of the impact of our words. And so if people who are struggling with mental health issues hear somebody say, hear the pastor say, or somebody that they respect say something like, oh, they crazy,
Yeah.
or ain't nothing wrong with her, get it together, because of lack of knowledge, or even to advise somebody inappropriately, but just continuously lifting up that shame or that shadow that if we don't shame people if they say, Reverend, can you pray for me? I've been diagnosed with cancer. We don't shame them. We shower them with love. What can I do to help you through this? Do you need somebody to go to your appointment with you? Do you need me to bring a meal? What is it that you need? What can I do to help your family? But do we do the same? If somebody says, I've been diagnosed with bipolarism or schizophrenia, I'm going to be real honest. Most will be afraid and step back.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the type of things that I want us to address. And I see you, Sister Henderson. Come on, share what you have to share.
Well, I opened up a shelter at my church many years ago. And it was for individuals coming out of the hospital that had mental health challenges and did not have a place to go to, or maybe they weren't quite ready to return home, but just were not able to stay at the hospital any longer. So the number one thing, the biggest issue I had was with my church. And I found out that I had to repeatedly talk about the stigma, which I've heard several of you mention it, and educate each other on mental health. It's not that if they sit next to you, you're going to get it or any of those things, but helping them understand and then giving them the opportunity
I think we lost her again. I'm not sure what's happening, but we'll move on and hopefully she's able to connect and join back in. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm. She was talking good too.
Yes, she was. We're gonna have to hear that out. Having a shelter for people coming out of a mental health hospital is a great thing, because there's not enough of such a thing going on in our communities.
Absolutely.
So
is to see the
things that the church can do. And I want you guys to count. Oh, you're back. Yes. Did you recall where you left off at?
Yeah, I said that
you were talking about
educating the community. I'm educating our church communities, which I do now. And I go to churches and I talk about mental health signs and symptoms, how to recognize them, but also that it's a very, very important that you see the person and not their condition. So if you can see the person, then you can hear their story and understand their struggle and not use that C word that I refuse to use because it's a stigma. And so understanding what the stigma is that is preventing people from coming, that was the challenge. And that is the challenge at many of the churches I go to now when I do mental health facilitation is recognizing signs and symptoms, but that doesn't mean that this person is going to flip out on you because they're sitting next to you in church. Let's understand that. You don't have to call all the big deacons up front because that individual is acting out a little bit. So it's a struggle, but we can get there. We did at my church. We got there and we had a wonderful program. And we don't have enough of those. And some churches don't have the space, but obviously being able to do that. And then they get to see your Christian beliefs and how you Christian are treating me. Well, if you're going to stand off from me, then is that really the Christian that I want to be with? Is that really what the Bible is saying? So you're showing me one thing, but you're telling me another.
I'll take that a little further even. The Bruna research project that I was sharing about when I shared statistics, they found that from their survey, from their research, 59% of individuals who are Christians, who also have a mental health diagnosis, they said the church is the last place they would go for help
Absolutely.
because of the shame and how they would be treated as an outcast. That also means to me that it is not enough to sit back and wait for somebody to come and say, hey, I have this problem or that problem. My area of expertise is working with individuals who've been impacted by childhood sexual abuse. Most people never tell.
Right.
People with mental health conditions often won't ever tell. But with you training people to see signs and symptoms, that helps us to see. But it's our job to reach out. We can't sit back and just wait. We have to reach out and be open and welcome, because by the time it comes to our attention, it could be really too late.
Mhm.
Because it could turn into a suicidal situation. But for the sake of time, we're going to move a little forward. I'm going to list some of the things that we can do and ask you guys to share on those. So one, we can talk about mental health during preaching. I am so proud of First Baptist North because today Dr. Hicks, he did in fact do that. He included in his sermon a mental health message, if you will. We can do all that we can to combat social isolation. Are you calling? Are you having chats? Are you getting that visual face-to-face contact with people? We have a watch party for one of our services, and I tell you, it's a blessing because we get to connect with one another in a way that we didn't even get to connect when we was going face-to-face in the building. Increase awareness among the people of how they might find counseling. How can you find a counselor? How can you get the resources that you need? Are we making that information readily available? And supporting the startup of Christian-based mental health support groups. Are we working to do that? Are we building our church's personal resources so that we are expanding our capacity to help this population and offering practical support that will help keep people from moving to that level? And one of the things that is really good is that people need to do. And so providing opportunities to serve is a way to help manage mental health. Because don't you feel so much better when you are working and doing something to help, even in a situation like this? And so there's a lot of help out, and we'll talk about that when we get into the resources. But are there any other things that you guys would like to share that you know that as a faith community we could do to help address the mental health needs of our community?
Tanya, I think one of the things that we can do is be more transparent about our own issues, our own mental health issues, and not hide those things
Yes.
from the people that we lead, but to be open and be honest about that and let people know that we struggle too. We struggle too, and to learn different ways to take care of yourself. Do something nice for yourself. Be kind to yourself, but then we have to be open too. We serve in a church that we're like closely connected. It's like a family setting, but people have just kind of fallen away. The one thing I did when we went into the first quarantine was I set up Marco Polos with every group that I was over in the church, so I could at least stay connected. I tried to come up with some type of way to stay connected and let them know that I'm interested in what's going on with you. And I think just the ministry of presence is one of the biggest things that I've come to understand from my own experience is what people are looking for.
Feel
People
connected.
want to be heard. They want to be connected. They want to be understood. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to be rebuked. They need somebody that's going to say, hey, listen, we all people want somebody that's going to meet them
Absolutely.
where they are. And Yeah, that's one of the things I try to do even in my practice when people come, because anxiety can show up in all different ways. And I've just started to diagnose under the umbrella of PTSD, because I'm finding that a lot of people are having delayed onset PTSD with the things that are going on because of the isolation. When you're in isolation, it gives you time to think. Otherwise, you could stay busy outside the house and outside the home doing things. But now people could have, all they can do is sit in their stuff.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. There's no way to escape it or get away from it. So rather than just spiraling into that place where, and I know some people right now whose children are in mental health facilities because they want to take their lives. And this is almost all of my clients, almost every single one. So it's part of protocol for me to ask my clients, how are your thoughts? How are your thoughts throughout the week? How intense is this? What's happening with you? And what can you do? Because many times when people go to a therapist, they go with the thought of what the therapist can tell me what to do.
No.
And that's not the case. That's not what a good therapist will do. She's not. Sometimes you have to give directives when people don't understand or comprehend what you're saying. But 99.9% of the time, people have to find their own way. So I do a follow the leader. You go and I'll follow. Whatever you say we're going to do today, that's what we're going to do today. It's got to be about that person. And the therapy session has to be a safe place where people can say whatever they need to say. Sometimes I even allow my clients to keep their camera off, but I make sure, like, I need to take a peek at you just so I can see what you look like, after that. And so I can see, oh yeah, they are feeling that. We have to pay attention to people. We can't just listen to people. We have to see them, even when we're separated.
Good point.
So that's how I feel. Yeah, and pastors have to be able to say to their parishioners, listen, I struggle with a mental health issue too. I'm dealing with A, B, C, D. It just so happens that I have the courage to say it.
Yeah.
People have to understand, you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be ashamed. But the problem is, like you were saying, Tanya, people come to the church expecting help. And when they say what's going on with them, then here comes the judgment. But aren't we supposed to bear one another's burdens and
Or
then
even
pray for each
judge in
other?
both ways, because sometimes people will believe that you don't have any problems because they don't know what your problems are. A good point. So what I want to reserve time for is for us to share what we are doing in our particular ministries, particular organizations, to address this problem within our community. I would like to start with Leslie, and then we'll go to Reverend Gladden and Reverend Beatley, and so on. So Leslie, if you could share, what is it that you are doing within your organization?
Hi, so in my role as Director of Mental Health Services for the Abundant Life Institute, we recently just rolled out a new mental health awareness self-care campaign series. It is going to be focused on the new life coaching program that we have rolling out. And just to clarify the difference between therapy and life coaching for some people, because they do think that they are one and the same. Therapy focuses more on the emotional healing aspect of the person's mental health, as where life coaching focuses on setting, achieving, and maintaining goals and helping the person to find a fulfilling life. So we have a new life coaching program that's going to roll out. The registration is now open for the program, and registration closes on November 21st. We have orientation for Abundant Life Coaching on December the 5th. And then from there, the coaching sessions will be every Saturday starting January 9th, and it goes until March 13th. There is a fee for the program, but if you aren't able to cover the cost of the program, we do have a scholarship available. But the life coaching program is created to help you find and to fulfill an abundant life. So we want to help people to set goals and then maintain and achieve those goals outside of the program so that you're able to lead a
Thank
happier,
you for
healthier
sharing
life.
that, and that information can be found at the Abundant Life Institute Facebook page. Reverend Gladden?
Yes. And the event for the and the event registration link is on the
Thank
Abundant
you.
Life
Reverend
Facebook page as
Gladden?
well.
Yeah, thank you again so much for this opportunity. So, as we're rounding out the year, and in a couple of weeks, we're headed into the season of Advent, we are reminding people that Jesus is a model of how to handle things like this, that there's a time when we need people to be with us. Emmanuel, Jesus comes to be with us. So at Crossroads AME Church, again, where I'm the associate pastor here, every Wednesday night, we host what we call Wellness Wednesday, so that we have spaces of accountability and spaces where people can see each other and be seen, where we do a wellness check-in every Wednesday. But then also with Good to the Soul, we are rounding out the end of the year by doing check-ins every 10 days. So this past Sunday, we did a 50 days to the new year. On the 22nd of November, we'll have 40 days to the new year, where we're looking at Inside Out Loving You. 30 days to the new year, 20 and 10. All of the dates are available in the promo that I'm not sure if you have it there available for you to throw up on the screen, but otherwise you can head to goodtothesoul.com and find the details there, or just hit me up on any of the social medias. Reverend Shonda Nicole Gladden, Shonda Nicole Gladden. Thanks so much again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Beatty.
Yes, so at Ascension St. Vincent, there are resources that are available for all of the associates. So if there are any associates of Ascension St. Vincent that are watching, please go to your homepage, and there is a list of resources there that are available for associates at no cost. There is plenty of resources out there for the associates. So please don't think that you have to go through this alone, and reach out. Please go to those resources that are there for you, for me, for all of us that are dealing with this. Please,
Right.
that's
Thank
what they
you
are
so
there
much.
for.
Sister Henderson?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I work for National Church Alliance, and so I work with seniors all the time, and seniors are really struggling with this COVID and this mask situation, and understanding that. So it's a daily conversation with many of them, helping them try to understand where we are and get through this. And then added on top of that, obviously, was the election. And so that's one thing that I do on a daily basis, but I also volunteer for the prosecutor has created or we're in the process of it. It hasn't quite opened yet, a conflict resolution center on the Near East Side. And it will be open to individuals can come and talk about the conflict that's going on in their home, at work, or wherever, whatever is causing them a challenge. Because a lot of times conflict is silence, and it's unexpressed until the last minute, and then they blow up. So we're trying to provide this place for people to come to be able to do this and have this conversation. And police officers can bring individuals there as well, or refer them. The courts will be able to refer them. So trying to reduce some of this depression and anxiety through conflict resolution. And I'm excited to be a part of this team, and can't wait for us to get it actually open.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Sister Curry?
Yes, ma'am. Let me hit that button. Right now, at True Tried in particular, we are giving out meals at least 3 days a week. But as far as my own ministry, I am just getting started. And so I'm excited to be connected with each and every one of you, because I feel like you're going to help me as I move forward. My thought and my vision is to open up groups for those who are dealing with childhood sexual abuse or just different things that people need a group setting so they can learn that what they're dealing with in a group setting is universal and that they're not alone. So I'm really just feeling a lot of calls with people with a lot of different problems right now, just trying to be present.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Well, thank you guys all for being here today. I want to add a resource. So for any congregation or organization that is looking to begin or partner with other organizations to address the mental health needs in your particular area, keyministry.org offers a lot of free resources to help you do that. The Center for Disease Control, the CDC, they have a list of resources as it relates to mental health and COVID-19. And so you can visit those two sites. But most definitely, any other programs that you guys are working on would be a help for someone. And we appreciate you sharing that. So I would ask the Reverend Gladden give us a little closing statement of hope as it relates to mental health in our community, and we will conclude on that note.
Well, outstanding. Thank you for the invitation. In addition to the resources that Reverend Hill just shared, be mindful that the counseling center here in Indianapolis at Christian Theological Seminary is a great asset and provides resources on a varying sliding scale and other economically affordable opportunities, as well as therapy for Black girls. But the message of hope is straight out of the scripture. Bible says that hope does not make us ashamed, and that when we have hope, we can hold on to that which will keep us from falling and present us faultless before God's throne with exceeding joy. I don't know what you're going through right now, wherever you are in the midst of COVID-19, but trust, believe, and know that the God of our weary years and the God of our silent tears hears you, sees you, and knows you in the fullness of who you are. I have an accountability partner in the flesh, but trust, believe, and know that God is with you, and God bless you. Thank you so much, Reverend Hill, for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Soul Sisters. Keep up the work.
Thank you.
Thank you all.